Folks, 250 years. 250 years of the greatest, most audacious, most successful experiment in human self-governance this planet has ever seen, and they still can't kill it. They have tried. Oh, they have tried. The British tried. The Confederacy tried, the Nazis tried, the Soviets tried, and now we've got the 1619 Project crowd and a fresh crop of little socialists in Brooklyn telling us the whole thing was a crime from the start. And yet there they were, tens of thousands of Americans standing on the National Mall in the middle of a thunderstorm, rain pouring down, lightning flashing over the Washington Monument, weather sirens going off, and they were not leaving. They were partying, because that is what Americans do. That is who we are. Trump had to evacuate the whole event. Mother Nature showed up uninvited, as she does, and you know what he did? He directed them to reopen the doors. 11 o'clock at night, and they came back. Every last one of them came back. Meanwhile, somewhere in a faculty lounge at Columbia University, a tenured professor of post-colonial grievance studies was writing his hot take about how the fireworks are a symbol of imperial violence. Have fun with that, pal. The rest of us were having the time of our lives. We have a lot to get into today, my friends. The Cuba refugee warning about communists marching into Congress. Paul Pelosi, Bella Pelosi's husband, apparently thought hit and run was some kind of hobby. The United Nations, once again, treating Hamas press releases as sworn testimony. And the 1619 Project lady has a confession that is so revealing, so nakedly honest about what these people actually believe, that I almost want to send her a thank you card. Almost. I'm Rick LeBeau. This is Rush Hour, and we are just getting started. All right, my friends, here we are. The day after Independence Day, the 250th birthday of these United States of America. And I want to talk about what happened on that mall 2 nights ago, because it tells you something. It tells you something important about this country that the drive-by media will spend exactly 0 seconds reflecting on. You had tens of thousands of Americans show up to the National Mall. They got evacuated because of severe weather, lightning, the whole bit. Now, the media, our friends in the press, they were absolutely gleeful about this. Oh, the storm. Oh, the chaos. Oh, the optics for Trump. You could almost hear the champagne corks popping in the CNN green room. And then the crowd came back. Trump said reopen the doors at 9:45, speech at 11, and they came back in the middle of the night after a weather evacuation. Soaking wet, probably, and not caring even a little bit. Now ask yourself, what does that tell you? That tells you that the appetite for genuine, unashamed, chest-out American patriotism is not dead. It is not even on life support. The media has been telling you for 15 years now that America is embarrassed of itself, that we are a nation in permanent apology mode, that the flags and the anthems and the celebrations are the province of the unsophisticated, the uneducated, the dangerous. They have been telling you that story until they are blue in the face. And then 75,000 people show up in a thunderstorm to celebrate their country's birthday. Well, didn't quite land the way you planned it, did it, fellas? Trump gave his remarks, historic speech, they're calling it, about American heroes, American greatness, what this country has built and sacrificed and achieved. And now, the morning after, the coverage from our trusted colleagues in the mainstream press is what you'd expect. Tepid, procedural, lots of focus on the weather delay, the logistics, the crowd size arguments. Anything to avoid simply saying, that was a magnificent celebration of a magnificent country. They cannot do it. It would physically pain them. Now, I want to get to something that happened around the same time as all this celebrating, because it is the dark side of this birthday, and it deserves your attention. It deserves it. A man named Mike Gonzalez, he fled Cuba. He actually left a communist country, which, if you think about it, gives him a credential that approximately 0 members of the Democratic Socialist Caucus possess. He has seen with his own eyes what happens when the government runs everything. He has seen the bread lines. He has seen the neighbors informing on neighbors. He has seen what free healthcare looks like when the government is the only doctor in town. He got out. He came here. And Mike Gonzalez is now warning, not speculating, warning that we are in a vicious cycle, that socialist candidates are winning primaries in Democratic strongholds, winning seats in Congress, and that if this trend continues, we could see communists, actual avowed communists, in the double digits in the United States House of Representatives. Now, when I say that, I know some of you are rolling your eyes. Rick, come on. These are just progressive Democrats. They're not really communists. Folks, let me ask you something. At what point does the label matter less than the policy? Because I have been watching this for a long time, with half my brain tied behind my back, just to make it fair. I have watched the left drift. I have watched them sprint. I have watched them pole vault left. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, the Duchess of the Green New Deal, when she arrived in Washington, she was considered the radical fringe. Now she's practically the establishment wing of her own party. The Overton window doesn't just shift on its own, folks. It gets grabbed and yanked by people who are organized, who are patient, and who are playing a very long game. And here's what Gonzalez understands that most people in this town refuse to say out loud. The Communist Party USA, and I am not making this up, this is a story from the Washington Times. Their own chairman came out and said, quote, "No current or hopeful Democratic candidates are communists. The Communist Party itself is running defense for the Democrat Party's candidates." Think about that for a second. When the Communist Party of the United States of America feels the need to issue a press release defending your party's candidates from the accusation of communism, you might have a branding problem. You might want to look at your coalition a little more carefully. Gonzalez's point, and it's a good one, a sharp one, is the cycle. Socialist wins a primary. Socialist wins a general in a safe blue district. Socialist now has the platform, the fundraising apparatus, the institutional credibility. Socialist endorses the next socialist, and so on, and so on. They're not trying to win America overnight. They are absolutely trying to make this a decade-long project. Now, contrast this with what happened on the National Mall the night before last. You had hundreds of thousands of Americans standing in the rain celebrating this country. Vice President Vance was out in New York Harbor for the International Naval Review, the largest naval gathering in American history, sailing into New York Harbor for the 250th. That's the other America. That's the America that works, that serves, that builds, that fights. These are the two countries living inside one set of borders right now. And the question, the real question, the one nobody on television wants to ask, is which one is growing faster? Gonzalez says the socialists have the demographics working in their direction in certain urban centers. He's right about that, and I'll tell you why. You can win a congressional district with 150,000 votes in Brooklyn. That is not a lot of votes. And when your opponent is the Democrat establishment, which increasingly these socialist insurgents are running against, the institutional money flows to the incumbent, and the socialist gets the activist energy, the small dollar donations, the social media mob. It's a machine. It's a well-oiled, red-flagged machine, and it's operating right now while most people are recovering from their cookouts. Now, here's the good news, and there is good news. The good news is that every single time these ideas have actually been implemented, Every single time a city or a state or, God forbid, a country has actually tried to run the socialism experiment, the result is the same. Empty shelves, waiting lists, people on boats trying to get somewhere else. Mike Gonzalez got on a boat trying to get somewhere else, and the somewhere else was here, was America, was the place these people are telling us was never great to begin with. Cuba didn't fail because they didn't have the right leader. Venezuela didn't fail because they ran out of luck. The Soviet Union didn't fail because of bad weather. They failed because the entire theory is wrong. It does not work. It has never worked. It cannot work. The math does not add up. And no nation has ever taxed itself into prosperity, and no nation ever will. But you know what? The all-knowing, all-sensing, all-seeing Maha-Rikki has been in this business long enough to know that facts don't always stop a bad idea from getting traction. Facts don't stop feelings. And the socialist pitch is pure emotion. You deserve more. They have too much. It's not fair. That is the entire pitch, 3 sentences, and it works on people who have never had to think beyond those 3 sentences. The 1619 Project woman, Nikole Hannah-Jones, said this week, and she said it out loud, she said it publicly, which I give her a tiny bit of credit for, at least she's honest. She said that paying reparations would amount to admitting that the entire existence of the United States is a crime. She said the quiet part out loud. That is the logical endpoint of everything the 1619 Project, the DSA, the campus left, the decolonize everything crowd actually believes. America is not a good country that made some bad choices along the way. America is not a noble idea imperfectly realized. America is, in their view, a crime in progress, an ongoing offense against humanity. And that, my friends, is why what happened on the National Mall 2 nights ago matters so much more than it might look. Because when Americans stand in the rain to celebrate their country, when a pilot flies a figure over the American heartland in honor of the 250th, when an artist paints the largest oil painting of the American flag in the country while thousands watch, that is not nostalgia. That is a rebuttal. That is tens of thousands of Americans in real time saying, no, we disagree. This country is worth celebrating. This country is worth fighting for. This country was not a crime. Don't doubt me on this one, folks. The answer to Nikole Hannah-Jones and the DSA is not a white paper. It's not a podcast. It's not a counter-argument on Twitter. It is Americans living as Americans. Proudly, loudly, in the rain if necessary. Happy 250th, everybody. We are just getting warmed up. All right, folks, let's run through some of the other stories making the rounds, because the world did not stop spinning just because it was America's birthday. First up, Paul Pelosi. Mr. Bella Pelosi, the husband of the former Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, she of the famously theatrical State of the Union paper tier, the $30,000 Sub-Zero refrigerator full of fancy chocolate ice cream. Her husband, Paul, is now reportedly under investigation in Napa County for a hit and run. He allegedly crashed into a parked vehicle in Northern California and then drove away. Now, this is the same Paul Pelosi who, a few years back, was arrested for DUI in Napa after wrapping his Porsche around another car, and now, allegedly, hit and run. Folks, I want to be very careful here. I want to be very fair, very measured. So I will simply note that this man has been involved in more vehicular adventures than most people have in a lifetime, and leave it at that. Just imagine, if this were, say, the husband of a Republican former Speaker of the House. Just imagine the press conference coverage. the hot takes, the think pieces about a culture of recklessness among the conservative elite, Anderson Cooper would have a 7-part series. Instead, it's a brief item, handled crisply, and we move on. The drive-by media doing what they do best, drive by. Next, the United Nations, our favorite international gabfest, the most expensive building full of the least useful people on Earth. A new report has come out from their Independent International Commission of Inquiry, and that name alone should win an award for sounding important while accomplishing nothing. And this report, according to our friends at National Review, is treating Hamas claims and Hamas press releases as verified, factual, sworn testimony. Hamas says this happened. The UN report says, and we quote, Hamas says this number of casualties. UN says reliable sources indicate. Folks, Hamas is a terror organization that uses its own civilian population as human shields and brags about it. They hide rockets in hospitals and tunnels under schools, and they do it because they know the optics work in their favor when those places get hit. This is not a secret. This is their publicly stated strategy. And the United Nations, the body that was supposedly created after World War II, specifically so that civilized nations could hold barbarism accountable, is citing these people's press releases as evidence. I keep saying this, and I will keep saying it. The United Nations long ago stopped being a vehicle for peace and became a vehicle for legitimizing every grievance of every tin pot government and terror organization that has figured out how to send a delegate to New York in a nice suit. The Chi-Coms love it. The Norks love it. The Iranians love it. It is the most expensive megaphone for anti-American, anti-Israel sentiment that has ever been constructed, and we pay a very generous portion of the bill. At some point, and I think we're getting there, the American people are going to ask, very plainly, what exactly are we getting for this? What has the UN done for us lately? What has it done for Israel? What has it done for the Uyghurs in China? What has it done for the people of Cuba or Venezuela or North Korea? The answer is approximately nothing, and the sooner we have that honest conversation, the better. And finally, and this one's almost a palate cleanser, it's a good story. Trump this week pardoned a group of people the administration is calling grease monkeys. These are folks, mechanics, gearheads, car guys, who ran afoul of Biden-era emissions regulations by modifying vehicles, tuning engines, doing what Americans have done in garages on weekends since there have been garages and weekends. The Biden administration had decided that certain engine modifications violated emissions standards. Surprise, surprise. And some of these people were facing actual federal punishment. Fines, penalties, the whole apparatus of the regulatory state coming down on some guy who wanted to put a different exhaust on his pickup truck. Trump pardoned them. Just cleaned the slate. Done. And look, I know some people will say, well, emissions rules exist for a reason. Sure, some of them. Some of them are about air quality, and they have their place. But when the federal government is going after backyard mechanics for tuning their cars, when we have got open borders and a national debt that would make your eyes water, and a fentanyl crisis killing tens of thousands a year, and the priority is the carburetor on somebody's 98 F-150, I mean, you really have to step back and appreciate the beauty of the administrative state getting its priorities absolutely perfectly inverted. Good for Trump on that one. Sometimes the right move is to just look the bureaucracy in the eye and say, enough. All right, my friends, we are coming down the home stretch on this July 5th edition of Rush Hour, and I want to leave you with something. because it's the day after the 250th birthday, and I think it warrants a minute of actual reflection. You know, there are a lot of smart people, very credentialed, very impressive people, who will tell you with complete sincerity that America's best days are behind her, that the arc of our history bends toward irrelevance, that we are too divided, too corrupt, too far gone to course correct. These people write books, they get tenure, they go on morning television. And every single 4th of July, they are proven wrong. Every single one. Because what happened on the National Mall 2 nights ago, people standing in a thunderstorm, getting evacuated, and then coming back because they weren't done celebrating, that is not the behavior of a country that's given up. That's not a defeated people. That is Americans being Americans, which is the most stubborn, the most resilient, the most constitutionally ornery thing a human being can be. Mike Gonzalez got on a boat. He left everything. He came here because this place, not France, not Canada, not the United Nations headquarters in Manhattan, this is the place that people risk their lives to reach. And all these years later, he's sounding the alarm because he's seen what happens when the lights go out, and he doesn't want it to happen here. The warning is worth heeding. The socialists are organized. They are patient. They are not going away. But neither are we. 250 years in, and we're still the country everyone's trying to get into. Still the country the world can't quite figure out. Still the country that will stand in the rain for 3 hours to watch fireworks over the Washington Monument. I'd say we're doing pretty well, my friends. I'm Rick LeBow. This has been Rush Hour. Same time tomorrow, if they let us back on.